Hello, and in today's video we are rating your drafts, and I'm also providing an update for my current draft of the Fantasy Premier League 2021 to 22 FPL team. Now obviously with the Euros still going on and Euro Fantasy still going on, a lot of people haven't made their teams yet, and that's fair enough. You know, you might want to break from FPL and you probably haven't got around to it yet, but it is a shame because it does mean the hype hasn't started yet, and they'll need to try and find a way to get that hype started before the new season on the 14th of August. But I did put out a tweet on my Twitter and basically asking, can you put in your teams, screenshot in your teams with the comments, and I can rate your teams. But my problem I've got is, people, either it's not getting out the word and you're not seeing that post, or genuinely people don't care right now because they're watching Euro Fantasy, they're watching the Euros, and they haven't made their teams yet because, unfortunately, people, no one commented on that post. So we're going to just try and do a little bit different here. What we're going to do is we're going to look at Twitter and basically just rate random people's drafts. At the end of the day, if your draft is one of the random people that I pick, then yeah, great to spread the word and get the advice heard. But we're also going to look at one team that I did get sent in from a direct message. So cheers for that, and we'll shout you out at the end of the video. But let's get into my first, little look at the first draft, and then at the end of the video, we will be updating you with my current team. It's not going to be any of the graphics today because I'm just going to whiz through some changes and some possible advice for drafts so far. So yeah, if you do go on to enjoy it, make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure to spread the word so we can get those subs up because, you know, I don't think we've really we've touched base really with many people. We don't know, many people don't know. So, you know, spread the word. I'm sure we can get right up to subscribers and at least 50 hopefully by the start of the season. But let's get into it then, shall we? FPL Yellow Army rating some nice little fancy teams for the season. And also, don't forget that on my current FPL Yellow Army channel, we've got the posts I've already done, the uploads I've already done, but also I've got on FPL Juice is YouTube channel some of my juicer videos for, you know, representing Watford for ahead of next season. 2 have now come out. The first one was just like an intro. The second one, FPL Juice just posted. So go over to that one, and I'd really appreciate if you dropped a like on that one. Really does help me out. So on my current FPL Yellow Army Hornet, or whatever you call it, FPL Yellow Army channel, it's laid out with posts and playlists. And obviously I've done playlists for all of the FPL videos so far, including my draft, my first initial draft, and also some channel trailer, and also we've got that little juicy introduction basically into the FPL fixtures. But just scroll a little bit below that and you can see that actually I've got there my lovely little season playlist from the 2020 to 21 season. So if by some, you know, miracle that you actually missed FPL from last season, or you know didn't really look at so much of my content from that, I've got the videos from both channels basically. I was originally on Roberto Hollis channel and then I changed over to Roberto the Hornet. So yeah, go check those out. Got part 1 on the Roberto Hollis channel, and that will be at the start of the playlist. And then there's a second playlist, part 2, and that's the second half of the season. So yeah, lots of really great videos there, reviews and previews across the whole season. So do, you know, look back at it, reminisce, and enjoy it before the new season kicks off, of course, for 2021 to 22. Right then, people, it's time to reveal my changes, my thoughts on these teams. And the first one we've got up here is from Joe M. It is at Jack58086030. They've replied to an official FPL post, and he's asked, what should I change? So I'll tell you right now. You've got Sanchez in goal, very, very solid. Kufal, very solid. Virgil van Dijk, Fofana, Lamptey, Salah, captain. Ismail Assar, De Bruyne, Jack Grealish, Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, Foster, Rafinha, Ivan Toney, and Amate. Now, I really like that team. I think that is a very solid unit. you've got a few players in there who look really good options. Sanchez, Vladimir Coufal, and, people were saying, all right, West Ham are in the Europa League, but he's already been in the Europa League with his previous club, Slavia Praha, and with that team, he has been able to negotiate the playing time for that, and he's just so good, attacking, going forward. He's got a chance of a clean sheet versus Newcastle, of course, and I also think that Wesley Fofana is a very good one. Now, you'd say he hasn't got much goal threat, but the fixtures are really nice to rotate. We've got Wesley Fofana and Tariq Lamptey, really nice fixtures, so these two can really be helpful. Budget options, and I think it is good moves in that defence. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the defence. The only ones I've got questions over is Virgil van Dijk and Amate. Now, obviously, with the players you've brought in, De Bruyne, Salah, Rafinha, it's pretty hard to get, a 4.5 defender for the last defender. But if you can, try and find a way to, change your budget so that you have maybe, say, downgrading, I don't know, let's say Jack Grealish to a Buendia. That saves you an extra 1.5 million. And then you could even, just upgrade Amate to a 5 million defender and get someone like Kieran Tierney. And then that means that you've got, much more money to invest in another defender for Amate. So we could get Tierney in, for example, for, say, Fofana. And then you can get in, a stronger defender for Amate. That's an option there. With Van Dijk, I think it's a good option, but we don't know how quickly he's going to recover from his injury. For, going out the Euros, he's going to really have a lot to prove. He's going to be nervous to obviously start the season, and I think it will be a little bit of a race against time, but you'd imagine he does start, so it's not a bad option. But how essential is one of Trent Alexander-Arnold or Andrew Robertson? I think it's pretty high on the priority list, to be honest. So maybe if you go and do what I mentioned and get out Amate, save a bit of money, but also upgrading the defence, you've got a bit left over by getting Buendia in for Grealish. And then by saving that money, you can actually upgrade from Van Dijk by 1.1 million to Trent Alexander-Arnold, or by 0.5 million to Andy Robertson. So, yeah, I think that's very solid Van Dijk. You could keep him, but just be wary that he might, have a bit of a injury problem. In midfield, I think De Bruyne is solid. I've seen a lot of teams not include Kevin De Bruyne, and I think that he is a bit injury prone at the minute, but that's just unlucky. He's an absolutely class player on his day, and for FPL, he is fantastic. Tottenham away, obviously, won't be easy, but it's Manchester City. They can pretty much do it in any game. And you'd say, despite the Pep Roulette, De Bruyne is probably the most nailed-on player. So, I am surprised a lot of drafts right now don't have De Bruyne in them, but that's for those people that want Salah and Fernandes. But this guy's gone for Salah and De Bruyne, which I think is a very good strat. And I think that if you want to maybe go with a Man City player and you feel like De Bruyne maybe might not play if he still has the injury he's carrying from that game he got knocked out, they knocked out Portugal, then you could get in someone else like Phil Foden, who surely is going to have a great season. And he's only something like 8.5 million, 8 million. So that, again, saves a big chunk of money. But obviously, we still know with Man City, someone like Phil Foden or even Jack Grealish, if he gets the move to Manchester City, we don't even have the guarantee that he's going to start. So, all right, Fernandes is there for the same price, but Fernandes has been pretty poor in the Euros, but you can't take so much of the tournament that's just happened into the season. You've got to think very collectively. So I think De Bruyne is a good pick. I think Ismail Assar is also a good pick against Aston Villa. I feel like he will get down those lines. He's really good at just getting to the byline and really taking on the fullbacks. Just really good at causing them a really torrid time. So Matt Targett, you'd imagine, will have a tough game up there. And if you look at Watford's fixtures, apart from Tottenham game week 3, they've got a nice run of fixtures. So Ismail Assar to start the season would not be a bad idea, unless we see Watford's results and we play really poorly and Sarr doesn't, find a way to get in the game. We saw that a bit in the Championship last season for us Watford fans. We were playing with Ismail Assar and he was just, not, finding that kind of rhythm in his game. He was getting very frustrated and he was just very, very slow in his build-up and he was cutting a very frustrated figure. So let's hope it clicks for Watford, but I think there's a lot of potential for points there. And of course, Salah. is a great option, of course, any week, especially if he does, play in time with the Olympics, because that Norwich game, he always scores against Norwich. So yeah, I'd say Amate is maybe one to change, maybe Jack Grealish, but of course, if he moves to Man City, then it'd be great to have Grealish and De Bruyne, but do you know that both are going to start? Probably will, but I don't know. It's a bit of a, up and down one. But other than that, I think I really rate this team. Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, both very solid. Rafinha and Toney, both very solid. Rafinha hasn't got the best fixtures, but he's a great budget option at 6.5 million, as is Ivan Toney. So I'm very, very happy with this team. Fair play to you, Jack 58086030. But let's move on to our next team. And that is also one that has been posted replying to FPL. And it's come from KG, and that is at Jukebox 2001. So this team is a very interesting one because it's not necessarily the typical team you would expect. And to be honest, I like it because it's differential. So you've got Ederson in goal. All right, you might say that you should go with budget goalkeepers, but Ederson was fantastic last season. If there's one player in the goal position in goalkeeper that you'd go for, who gets even assists sometimes, then you'd say Ederson. I mean, Tottenham away is not easy, but it certainly is not bad. I think that there's still a lot of chances for transfers to come in, so you can maybe adjust some of these because there's a few players here who they're not going to play, and I'll get to that when I talk about this guy's bench. But in his defence, very, very solid. Vladimir Kufal, we've already mentioned. Kieran Tierney's got a nice run of games. And Ashley Young, all right, he's playing Watford, fair enough. It's a promoted team. And Ashley Young could be the next, Lundstrom. Talking of which, that video will be coming on Tuesday, where I kind of look at the players for this season right now as it stands and see if we can find the next Stuart Dallas, the next John Lundstrom, the next out-of-position midfielder, or defender, I should say. So, yeah, make sure you go enjoy that one. But to be fair, Ashley Young could be a contender. He's very attacking for that Aston Villa team, and you'd imagine he'd play. So he could be on free kicks, who even knows. But I think Andrew Robertson, good shout there. The midfield is interesting because we've got no Mohamed Salah, no Kevin De Bruyne, and no Bruno Fernandes. I feel like having one of them is fairly important. But fair enough, he's feeling a bit differential, and he's gone with Phil Foden, who I mentioned earlier on the video. Kai Havertz, I think, is an interesting one. He ended the season really, really well. But how far he'll go to starting the season strongly, I'm not sure. Crystal Palace is a nice fixture, but if you look after Crystal Palace, Chelsea's run of games is really, really difficult. So unless this guy, KJ, has got a really important and, convincing idea that Chelsea will win these games against bigger teams, I would probably say Havertz could be replaced with someone else. But, he's got attacking threat, there's no doubting it. Emil Smith-Rowe, a great option, I think, at 5.5 million. There is not a lot of options, to be honest with you, at that price point. But Smith-Rowe does have a nice fixture, and he just ticks along with points nicely. So I'd probably stick with Smith-Rowe. Up front, I think there could be changes made here. First of all, Jamie Vardy. I think that Vardy is starting to get on his, latter stages of his career now. And, all right, Wolves at home isn't bad, but despite the fact that Vardy always does well in match day one, I'm just not feeling Vardy this season. I think at the price he is, at 10.5, he's gone up, considering last season he wasn't fantastic and he, started it well but then ended it really poorly. So I think that you can use that money a bit more wisely. Even someone like Edinson Cavani, who was absolutely on fire last season, he's only 8.5 million. So that's a great option to have, save a bit of money there. And you can upgrade your third striker, perhaps Ivan Toney, or, as we mentioned before, upgrade Kai Havertz. But you've got Harry Kane up there, and I think that's not a good idea if he stays at Tottenham. I think if he goes to Manchester City, that is a fantastic FPL option with Kevin De Bruyne in behind him. But right now, I feel like Tottenham might keep Harry Kane, which, seems unlikely. But if he stays at that club, I feel like he won't want to play for the team. And his head won't be in it. It's as simple as that. So he might stay. He might commit his future to Tottenham. But I think Man City at home is a difficult fixture anyway. I know Kane was amazing last season, but if he's not in the right mindset, then maybe he's not a player who's going to do as well as last season. And finally, Ivan Toney, we said how he's a nice budget option, but if you want to, get another forward in, you've got a bit of money to spare with that Vardy sale, then you can get someone in with a really nice fixture like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Everton's fixtures to start the season are very, very nice. Leeds in the second game week of the season, so, those are always leaky. And in the defence, in the bench, we have a bit of issue because Jeremy Ngakia isn't likely going to play. Now, fair enough, this guy seems to have run out of money, and that's fair enough because the team he's got is very expensive. Maybe he's overspent on the attack a little bit with Kane and Vardy, but also you could argue a little bit with the goalkeeper Ederson. But at the end of the day, Jeremy Ngakia, on the game, I mean, in the Championship last season he was fantastic, but he didn't play many minutes, and I thought he would be a much more regular starter than he was. But you've got to say, Kiko Femenia was fantastic last season, and Jeremy Ngakia is 4.5 million, and for the same price, you can get, if you want a Watford defender, a lot more Watford players who can get starts and can get, attacking returns. Danny Rose, I think, could be a good option. He's so, attacking, and you'd imagine he starts most games over Messina, but there could be a bit of a rotation there. We've also got Sia Rauter, but he's not got much goal threat. And then Kiko Femenia, as we just mentioned, he's going to start at right back, and he's so attacking. So, yeah, you could evaluate that, but you could also think about someone like Leicester. If you fancy their fixtures, you can go with, as we mentioned before, in 4.5 million, Wesley Fofana. So I think that team needs a little bit of tweaking, especially in goal, because Danny Ward, all right, he had a good Euros, but he's not going to start for Leicester. And I think that for the same price, Ben Foster, he could get a few games, so it's probably more favourable to do that. Josh Da Silva, I like that actually. I think Brentford, despite their fixtures, could have a good go of it. And Da Silva certainly had a great season last time. And then Martinelli at 5.5, he's another option, but I'd prefer probably, another 6 million midfielder maybe, just to slot in there like Ismaila Sarr, by maybe downgrading one of the, defenders like, I don't know, Ashley Young or perhaps Andy Robertson, and then you can get in someone stronger in that midfield spot ahead of Martinelli, because you've already got Smith Rowe, and Martinelli's not as nailed on as Smith Rowe for starts, you'd imagine. So all in all, bit of a differential team, an interesting team to talk about, and that's why I thought we'd go over it. But I quite like it. And then I just want to quickly mention, for 5 million, why not? Why not get Emmanuel Dennis? Because he was fantastic at Club Brugge, and he's going to probably start. Now, there's a lot of options for Watford. We can either play Semmer on the left-hand side, Pedro on the striker, and Sarr on the right, and we have Dennis as super sub. But he's just come into the club. You'd imagine he'd want to start, and he probably will start. But we can also have Dennis on the left-hand side, then up front, Joao Pedro, and on the right, we can have Ismaila Sarr. But equally, we can have Pedro on the left, Dennis up front, and Sarr on the right. So there's a lot of options for Watford, and Dennis, I think, will be one of those players who gets put into the front three. So he looks like a great bargain, and, we've seen with previous Watford forwards, they've often started their career at the club, off the ground running. You look at Stefano Akaka, the first few games he came in, and, he was fantastic, and, scored a brace against Everton. He did a brace against Liverpool, and Igalo, of course, getting a lovely goal against Everton on the opening day. So, I don't want to, stress this too much. Don't look into it too much, but I feel like Emmanuel Dennis could be a decent option if you're struggling for that bargain forward, who, a lot of teams probably will be. Now, it has been released that Jadon Sancho has made the move to Manchester United. We still don't know his price, but he could be a decent option to have. I think players to avoid in that forward line, you've got people like Michail Antonio and also Kelechi Iheanacho, who are both going to be tired for Europa League. But now, we've just had a new Leicester man come through the door, and that man, of course, is a little bit of Daka. Daka from Leipzig, and I just don't think he's going to have a high ownership at all, because at 7.5 million, it seems a bit too costly. He's never kicked a ball in the Premier League. All right, he's a prolific striker, but I just feel like this could be a problem for Iheanacho and Vardy, and even Daka, who, will probably take a few games to get going, and we just don't know how well he will do. So I think in that kind of region, you want to go for someone like Ollie Watkins, or even someone else in that 7.5 bracket if you can find them. So I think there's a lot of options basically, but I'm not sure he would be the best one. And then we've got our two last teams to review, and then we will update you with my current, draft. So the last penultimate team to look at is going to be coming up right now, and this team is by Kai at Kai12334E, applying to official FPL after a point was made by the Twitter page about Bruno Fernandes and his 12 million price tag not putting off people. But what are the thoughts of me for this team? Because he mentions how at the moment Kane and Grealish could possibly go to Manchester City, and he has both of those players in his team. But he's got Sanchez in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kufau, Digne, Salah, Buendia, Grealish, Maddison, Tony, Watkins, Kane, Foster, Fofana, Bissouma, and Manquillo. First of all, I've got to say, love that team. Absolutely love it. Because, alright, you might not own Bruno Fernandes, but you've got a very, very consistent squad depth all round. The only player, of course, is Manquillo, but, you know, you can only have a couple of players who aren't necessarily going to be premiums. But it's very, very even, that team. And you've got, from each position, one really nice premium asset. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah, and Harry Kane. That is nice to fit all three of those in, and then to have the strength and depth of Watkins, Grealish, and of course Buendia. So I think this team is very, very strong. The only thing I would say is that with someone like Harry Kane, as we mentioned before, we don't know if he's going to hit the ground running straight away, especially with such a tough game like Manchester City. So, just hear me out. We could switch Harry Kane to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's got a nice fixture against Southampton. And then Calvert-Lewin is amazingly 8 million, so that saves us a lot of money. Harry Kane is 12.5 million. So we're talking about 5 million there or something like that. So that is a lot of money to invest in. Then that can improve with a few million Manquillo. And we can also get in to replace Jack Grealish because, you know, he's going to be playing for Man City. How often is he going to play if he goes there? And instead of Jack Grealish, we can get for 7.5 million Diogo Jota. So now you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Salah, and Jota, as well as, you know, if you sell Harry Kane, all right, you've got Calvert-Lewin. That team, I think, looks really, really strong now. To also have Manquillo out of the team as well looks really nice. So, you know, fair enough if you want to keep these, you know, weak players on the bench. It's not a bad strat because then you're not always having these dilemma decisions in a match day because you've got really strong players on the bench. But that's just the way I play. You know, if you disagree, put it in the comments. But personally, that's my advice for that team, which looks pretty nice, to be fair. With Kane and Grealish in there, I think that, you know, a lot of people haven't gone for Kane because of his price, but it could be decent if Harry Kane can really get going against that Manchester City defending champion team. Okay, let's finish off then with our final one of the video to rate. And by the way, of course, I have, you know, forgotten to actually rate them in terms of numbers. So the first team, we're going to give a solid 6 out of 10. The second team, we're going to say, it was a little bit differential, wasn't it? So I hate to say it, but 5, because I think that there could be a lot of improvement. The team we've just done, I'm pretty sure we've done 3. Apologies if I've got that wrong. I'm saying it's strong, so we're going to go for 7.5. But it doesn't matter how many we've done now. Let's get to the final one now that I was sent in personally, and this was a really good one. So I you know, appreciate the share there. We'll just get it up for us to have a little look at, and then we will update you with my current draft team. So basically, we're starting to get now a little sense and a little feel for some of the more, how do I put it, template players. So, alright, there's a lot of players that people are jumping on, your likes of Lucas Digne, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Luke Shaw, Rafinha, Tony, Calvert-Lewin. But what are you feeling? Do you think that the best team is the template team because, you know, people agree that they're going to get points? Or do you think that the differential teams with a few of those template players are going to get the most high ranks? If you disagree with me, then put it down in the comment section below. I'd be really interested to see your opinion. But the final team we've got today is a nice little one, and it's sent by legend, that is at FPL_Beery. Thanks, mate. Really do appreciate it. He's got Sanchez in goal, and he got him vice captain, but I'm sure he's not gonna, have that at the end of the match day. He's just having a bit of fun with it. Then in the defence, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Wesley Fofana, and Luca Digne. Mason Mount, Fernandes, Harrison, and Salah. Now, we don't know, obviously, with Harrison, whether he's going to stay at Manchester City or he's going to go back to Leeds again. But if he's at Man City and he starts, that would be amazing, but I don't think he will. Salah captain, obviously, the great pick there. Calvert-Lewin, Watkins, Toney, very, very good front three, I think. And then the bench, Martin Dubravka, Ben White, Williams from Manchester United, who could get a loan move, and a very nice option at defence there. And then Josh Brownhill. So, to start off with, I think that the Brighton players here are very, very good at options. Sanchez, very solid goalkeeper, the budget option that everyone's turning to with those great fixtures. Ben White, I see why he's got him in, because he's about to go to Arsenal. I think with this one, you can never quite predict the Arsenal defence. And even with Ben White, he's got a bit of attacking potential. And obviously, he's going to make that big money move. So that could really enhance his performance. Whether that enhances his FPL points is a never question. But I think Ben White is still a good option. So I'm happy with those. Trent, Fofana, Digne, all good. All looking solid. I mentioned how Fofana has got not much goal threat. But with clean sheets, that's all you're targeting for, really. So now we talk about the final defender, and that is Brandon Williams. Now, I think this is a bit of an interesting conundrum. There's obviously not many options for that price at 4 million, because you don't know who's going to start. You ultimately don't know who the best options are. But I feel like Brandon Williams, if he does get a move, could be a decent shout. Now, remember that there's a few players here in this game with the names Williams. We've also got Nico Williams. And Nico Williams did come in handy a few times last season, but he did rarely play because, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold was so good to end the season. Now, if Nico Williams gets a loan move, then I think he could be a really good option for 4 million. But Brandon Williams, will he get a loan move? I can't predict that. I don't know. But I think that he's not a bad option. Now, if we just look at, players, if we're sticking to that 4 million price tag for defence, I think Manquillo has got a good chance of playing. But it's not a desirable FPL asset. Newcastle defence isn't exactly the tightest of all time. And then you got starting to get players who have an unlikely chance of playing. Ben Johnson for West Ham. We also got Kevin Long, who I don't think is going to play for Burnley. So you start getting down the list and it starts getting pretty impossible. The only one I've got to say could be a chance is for Norwich City, and that is Andrew Omar Bamidele. Now, Omar Bamidele, he's got a small chance of playing, but even if he does, do you really want a Norwich City defender with their fixtures to start the season? They are absolutely dreadful. I know that they, probably will just bench them if they have Omar Bamidele, but is it worth it? Because, even after that, all right, Watford, yeah, Everton is quite tough, Burnley, Brighton, but even in these easier games, do you see Norwich getting clean sheets? Do you see Norwich scoring attacking defensive returns? I'm not sure. And this guy doesn't have the assurity that maybe someone like, if he does go to a loan team, Nico Williams or Brandon Williams does. So in terms of the 4 million options, I think you can't really get much better than Brandon Williams. But what I would suggest is a little bit of a shuffle around with money. Now, I've seen your team. I think the forward line, you don't need to improve that. Calvert-Lewin, Watkins, Toney is a very popular front three, and I think that will do a lot of good points. But I do question Mason Mount. I think that, alright, he was a good option on the eye, FPL last season, but I just don't think it's worth it. With those fixtures, I think there's a lot of better players that could be getting points just as much as Mason Mount for that price point and with better fixtures. So I would choose, instead of Mason Mount, a player with really nice fixtures, and actually a player who had a lot of injury problems, which is an issue. But I think that if he can just kind of, have a good pre-season, then, start getting some, good minutes under his belt, then why not? James Rodriguez. He's at 7 million, which is actually cheaper right now than Mason Mount. So that's saving 0.5 million. So say you got Mount out for James Rodriguez, who's got really nice fixtures. Okay, Jack Harrison, he's not a bad option, but we don't know which club he's going to end up at. So there's a little bit of doubt behind it. Perhaps you move Harrison on to Ismail Assar, who I think is a really good option at 6 million. And then you've got 0.5 to spend. So you can upgrade Williams to Wesley Fofana, but you've already got him. So maybe instead someone like Danny Rose, if you fancy the Watford defence. I mean, not many people will, to be fair. We are pretty bad defensively. But there are a lot of options if you look at that 4.5 bracket for the defence. So you can upgrade to someone like Lowton, who has got a decent attacking potential. And you can upgrade to someone like Taylor. But also, look at that Brighton defence. The fixtures are very nice. Veltman is very nice. I know you've got White there, but you could double up. You could even triple up on that Brighton defence with such good fixtures. I think that getting a 5 million defender is obviously what you need here. But it's going to be difficult with the price to budget. So if you want to keep Brandon Williams, then you've still got 0.5 to use. And you can easily go down Mason Mount to someone like Emil Smith-Rowe. That saves you a lot of money. So we're talking here a lot of money saved. That's 2 million to spend on Brownhill or on Nico Williams. So you could get 1 million spent on, say, Nico Williams and get Tierney in. And then you can get another million spent on Brownhill and get in someone like Emil Smith-Rowe. So there's a lot of options, I think, to change around this team. I think the bench maybe needs a little bit of work, but the starting 11, if you want to keep Harrison, then go for it. But I do feel there's a risk there. You could go with Ismail Assar, and if you can get that 0.5 up the team, I think Rafinha is a very, very good option. So that is my assessment. I think it's a very solid team, but there are a little few tweaks that can be made. So I'm going to rate it 6.5 out of 10. And that is where we end up our rating of these drafts. I hope you have enjoyed. Like I said, comment down below if you disagree or you think there's certain players that need to be in some of these draft teams. I think they've all been decent attempts, to be fair, but they could be a little bit better. They could have that next level and step up a little bit. But that is just my opinion, of course. We all take FPL very seriously, and it's just my relative opinion. So make sure you justify what you're thinking, and I'll be really interested to see. So we're going to end off the video now updating you people with my current team for this season. And I've only made basically 1 or 2 tweaks, but it's just a little update on what it's looking like. So we've now had 731,000 players join the game. That's good to see. But in Sanchez, we have got a very solid goalkeeper. I don't think I'm going to change him. I know that it's very early on in the season. There's still a long way to go till it starts on the 13th of August. But he just looks a great budget option. With really good fixtures, and we're going to stick with him. We've also stuck with Trent Alexander-Arnold from our previous first draft video because he's solid. In Digne, we've also brought him in. Now, the issue I had here was I couldn't fit him in. But I've done a little juicy thing where I've taken out Emil Smith-Rowe. And I know that I've already said in the video that he's a great option. I do think he is. But I do still have that lack of faith in Arsenal for FPL points. Maybe they'll get them, especially against Brentford. But do you want Smith-Rowe across the whole season? Of course, maybe you might. But you've got to think about Game Week 1. And you've got to think that actually you don't need a season-long good team. You just need a good team for Game Week 1. So you can easily wildcard out these players. You can bring them back in. There's so much flexibility with FPL. Nothing is set. And nothing is, the way it has to be. But with this midfield, I am happy enough with the options I've got. So I felt downgrade Emil Smith-Rowe to Yves Bissouma. Now, Yves Bissouma will sit on my bench, to be honest, because as an attacking option, I don't like him. But he does get the odd worldie. Got that against Burnley last season. Fingers crossed he does it again. But at the end of the day, he's not a player who I really want to play week in, week out. It's just, allowing me to get the players I want to. And I had this really big dilemma between Luca Digne and Luke Shaw. And the answer is, it's so hard to call between them. You've got Luca Digne, who's got the better fixtures and the better attacking potential. But then you've got Luke Shaw, who's more nailed. Oh, I say more nailed. You've got to look at that Digne player and, there's not many options at left back for Everton. But with Luke Shaw, he's just had a great attacking season. And Manchester United are always going to play him. I know that there's a little bit of competition there, but I doubt that, he'll get dropped. I think that when he came in, to be fair, I thought that Manchester United making the signing of Alex Telles was not even a bad idea. But actually, it's made Luke Shaw play better because he's had someone to kind of compete with. And it's just too easy now to see Shaw play every week. So I think he's got to be in there. And it's nice to have both of them because we've upgraded who was originally there, Wesley Fofana. And of course, he's going to be in Europa League as well. So maybe he'll be tired. He doesn't have many attacking goal threat anyway. So I think we can just have just as good fixtures with Luca Digne in there as well as the attacking potential of Luke Shaw. It's just a bit of a worry with Digne about clean sheets because Everton are a bit suspect of that. But off the back of a good Euros, if Pickford does carry on his form, you never know. So yeah, that's the team I've gone with in defence. Shaw, Digne, Trent, and now I've also still got Coufal. So little switch there, switcheroony, 2 players coming out, 2 coming in, Digne and Yves Bissouma for Fofana and Emil Smith-Rowe. We've still got a game on the Friday night, and I still got a player from that game, Ivan Toney. But all the rest of the team is the same with Rafinha, Foster and Toney, all those kind of players. So that is our little update for you. If you didn't see my original video with the whole team, then make sure you check it out on my channel. It is a good one. It's got plenty of views, and make sure you smash a like on it too. But that is where we're going to end things for this video. It's been a long one, but I've just tried to cover a broad range of things there. My FPL team updated. Obviously, check out my previous playlist from last season on the channel. But also, I've rated your teams and just rated them out of 10. So, yeah, let's see how these FPL managers can change their teams with my advice. And if you do know of someone that I've rated out of the blue, then drop them a little message and let them know. See them and tell them to watch this video, and hopefully I have provided a little bit of enjoyment, a little bit of help for the FPL season. It's still a long way to go, but a little taster into the start and what we're thinking. So I'll see you next time. Bye bye.